All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Chuck Salvo. Chuck, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Well, I'll tell you, I have been looking forward to this, especially after the last conversation that you and I had. And, I want to start off by giving a shout out to Ian Garlic. His name is spelled Ian. I thought it was Ian. It's not. It's
Yeah.
Ian is how he pronounces his name. And
Yes.
and man, what a great guy Ian is. I've known him for a few years, and he's absolutely brilliant at what he does.
Yeah.
And we've just created this relationship where anytime he says, Kevin, I want to connect you with so and so, and here's why, as he did with you and I'm like right there because Ian and I just have that kind of relationship. And what was cool, Chuck, when we spoke for the first time, it was like you and I had known each other for a long time just because of our mutual friendship with Ian and stuff.
Right.
And what a testament right there to the power of right relationships, which of course is what this podcast is all about and stuff. And so,
Absolutely. And
but I want
being
to,
Italian, Kevin, the I immediately was attracted to him because of the garlic name, so
and I can't remember what his wife's maiden name was, but
I don't
it was another. It was like it wasn't onion or something like that, but it was something
know.
like that. Where when it was the garlic, and I can't remember, but
They
it,
were a
it was
wonderful recipe together, right?
it was yes, that's right, that's right. And so and I he just got such. Not only is he just world class at what he and his team do, I mean, he's got a great sense of humor, and he's one of those people that just places a really high value on relationships and stuff. And I know for me, I've long believed that as entrepreneurs, relationships are our most valuable asset, and everything else stems from there. And I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you today, Chuck. And I want to just turn it over to you, so we can start by setting some context, and you can share about what you do and who you serve and what inspires you most about the work you do and the impact you're making in the world. And also be sure to give us the backstory because you've got an amazing backstory, and I want to make sure people get to hear that too and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I've been very blessed. I wrote the book, Rave, How to Respect and Value Everyone, because I had such an incredible journey throughout my life. I was a culinary institute student, a culinary. I was actually Johnson and Wales, so I was a cook, I was a chef, and then I was able to work with some of the greatest organizations in the world, with Hershey Company, with the chocolate people. I was able to
Mhm.
work for Hyatt, Hilton, and then about 25 years ago, Disney started knocking on my door because of my background in the culinary side, but also in the adult education side. I was able to build team building programs and orienteering programs and run major events. So I've been really blessed to be able to work with some of the greatest organizations across the world. And then one of the businesses that I was a leader of at Disney was the Disney Institute.
Okay.
So for 15 years, I was with the organization so Kevin, when people come to Disney, they will constantly ask Disney, how do you make your customers so happy?
Hmm.
And
Yeah, they're
so
known for the happiest place on earth, and I've been there many times. And it's a whole different world when you walk in the gates of Disney and stuff.
Exactly. And so companies started really calling us about 40 years ago and started saying, hey, can you help teach us how do we make our customers happy? And so a division was started called the Disney Institute. And that's who
Okay.
I was really with for 15 years, really helping organizations understand the business behind the magic at Disney. So I got to
Oh,
travel all over the world helping organizations build cultures of happiness. And so when I opened up my own company around 5 years ago, I chose a title of Chief Happiness Architect because that's
Perfect.
what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you get to choose your own title, you should choose carefully.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I chose with intentionality and I said, okay, so everybody wants to be happy, that's for sure. But what people don't understand is it really takes an architecture. You really need a structure for that happiness to live within and a set of boundaries. So that's really what my business is, other than being an author now. My business is going to organizations, really listening to their people's voices, their employees' voices, their colleagues' voices, or Disney, the cast voices, right? And really then help them build their framework. It can't be somebody else's that you're plugging in. It has to be for them or about them for it to really work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who is your ideal client, Chuck, that you go and serve? I want to get a good understanding of this and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question because ideal, you would think of like a certain type of industry. And really, an ideal client is someone really looking for a culture that truly is like a servant-based culture.
Hmm.
You know, so and the leadership has to really want that. I mean, I've worked for major airlines and major resorts and engineering firms and hospitals. You know, so it doesn't really matter what industry it is.
Yeah.
However, you really have to have a commitment to be people first,
Yeah.
and more importantly, to start with your employees first. You
Yeah.
know, in that world, the customer experience comes from the employee experience, and
Yeah.
then other experiences come along with that.
So you obviously serve companies who have employees, have team members and stuff. What is the range? I mean, like, so like, are you going in and speaking like to or working with companies that like have, are we talking like 100 people? Are we talking 1,000 people? What kind of range? Or is it all in between?
Oh, it's all in between. I've helped startups, you know, have
Okay.
a culture from the beginning. That would be ideal. Yeah, for some reason, startups are so focused on product that they don't realize that they really need the culture to go along with that product. And
Mhm.
then I've gone from 100 people to 5,000 people to 70,000 people.
Wow.
So the range is very vast. As I noted, the types of industries really don't matter. The formula that we talk about, that we help people with, can work for any industry. It's just a matter of, again, really committing to it because, you know, people like to use the term soft skills, hard skills. I don't necessarily like the term soft skills so much. I like the term, customer experience, employee experience.
Mhm.
Because if you build, everything's about experiences nowadays, and you really need to be very intentional about the experience.
Yeah.
However, you have to realize they're hooked together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to have a great product, but the experience, isn't it? I mean, because it's my belief that it's the experience that is really what gets people talking and stuff. I mean, we were talking about Disney.
Hmm.
And when you walk in the gates of Disney, it's like you go into a completely different world and stuff where it is the happiest place on earth. And it's also the cleanest place on earth,
Right.
And so there's a lot of things inside Disney that are like, they're very intentional about, and they're very intentional about creating the experience. And it's that experience that gets people talking and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's cool to have a great product, and that's obviously important too. But I think my personal belief is I mean, heck, I've done, especially in my previous company, I had a publishing business, and I did almost 600 strategic partnerships over a 12-year period. And on some of those, they were very, very profitable. And
Mhm.
and that's great too, but it's not the profit that gets your partners talking. It's the experience of having done that partnership with you and stuff. That's what gets them telling other people, hey, you should talk with Kevin's company. You should talk with him about doing some collaborative stuff
Right.
together because I had a great experience. And yeah, we made money, but they don't talk about the money. They talk about the experience.
Yeah, you're so you zeroed in on a great word there, Kevin, intentionality. And it really is all about being intentional about everything you do. I think Disney Institute, we talked about a thesis of Disney is intentional where other people are not intentional.
Yeah.
They really focus on where some people see 10 touch points, they see 100 or 500 touch points
Yeah.
and manage each of those touch points very intentionally. So if we think about when we go to other organizations or even talk about relationships, which was what I wrote the book about, it's really focused in on how am I intentional in understanding what I'm trying to achieve. What is the structure I need for that to achieve? What do my employees need to be successful? And more than successful, happy in
Yeah.
that environment, in that
Yeah.
set of boundaries. Because if they're happy, everybody else is going to be happy.
You
When
bet.
we at Disney, we would hear people all the time come to us and say, "Hey, come and make my customers happy." And we'd say, "Okay, first you need to start with making your employees happy." And they go, "No, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about our customer." We say, You don't understand.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is all connected. It's all intentional."
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, because if your employees are happy, if your team is happy, then your customers and clients are going to have a whole different experience interacting with them, and they're going to be far happier.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, yeah. So, what is we don't have to share names or anything like that,
Yeah.
but what's an example of a result that you helped a client get that you're just incredibly proud of, Chuck?
Oh my. I mean, there's so many, but where I guess the example is where you come in and there is just, everybody is so focused on KPIs and net promoter scores and all that sort of stuff. We worked with this one major manufacturing company, a big retail group actually. They did everything. And we started the process of going around listening to their voice. And then we built what we would call a human respect framework, a way of working framework where they first start with what is the purpose for me coming to work each day?
Okay.
And this one was really all about, they came up with it, about caring, genuinely caring for their customers.
Yeah.
And before this was even, because normally you do that, you build it, you do a launch on it, so it takes a little bit of time to really get it out to the entire group. They were so hungry for this, Kevin. This was a group of 70,000 people. They
Okay.
were so hungry for this that just the fact that we were talking to them and listening to them and hearing their voices, and they were the ones who actually built the common purpose, that it
Mhm.
spread like wildfire and their KPIs started going through the roof even before we launched the program. And
Wow.
I hate to use
Wow.
the word program. We launched the new culture, the new idea of that
Okay.
new purpose of being for that organization. And it was just such a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I've seen that happen again and again, that once you listen to the voices of your people, and then when we go in and work with companies, we make sure that a full selection of those people, like a cross-functional group of every level of people are part of building this.
Okay.
That's how you get it to be adapted and adopted because now you're building it for you and they're part of it. And it's
Yeah.
a special, special moment.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Well, okay. So now that we've got some context set here, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm going to reiterate the question I want to ask for the benefit of our listeners. So,
Okay.
Chuck, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear
Wow.
your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Well, you would think, in the brands that I've had to work with, whether it be Hershey or Disney, that it would be somebody in that realm. But really, some of my experiences over the last 5, 6 years or so, I'm going to switch that a little bit, Kevin, and I'm going
Okay.
to go with my daughter, Lauren.
Okay.
And
All
I'm
right.
going with her because she basically the father abandoned the family, and we have a special needs grandson and a granddaughter, and they're just incredible kids. And to watch her have to navigate through that, to get over that trauma, to not dwell on that old relationship, and to love her kids and to love her family, and to work full time and to try to manage in the world that we have today. I mean, and she's just my hero, and she is probably the strongest woman. I tell her that all the time. I said, "You're the strongest woman I've ever met in my life." So it was her and the grandkids who really inspired me to write Rave, because I want them to know that really most of the world is good. And if you take the time to build relationships and understand one another for who they are, you really can have a beautiful world out there. And so I always say, because of her and my grandkids, we're trying to save the world one relationship at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You know, man, I can relate to so much of what you shared. I'm a husband. In fact, my wife and I will celebrate our 20th anniversary tomorrow.
Well,
And
congratulations.
yeah, and that, and I'll tell you, that's an accomplishment that I know that we're both really proud of,
I'm
And
going on 38, and I have to say that now because now that you mentioned it, if I don't mention my wife in the 38 years, I'm going to be in trouble.
and you know what an amazing accomplishment. I mean, congratulations to you guys
Thank
too.
you.
And and we have 7 kids, and I am, just I love being a husband and a father, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And yet at the same time, we've had these experiences as you just shared, and I've had some of the similar experiences too, and and it makes us just so proud of our kids. And as fathers, you know what, we just want the best for our kids.
Yep,
And we hate to see them hurting. And like, if we could just fix everything that ever went wrong in their lives, wouldn't that be great? And the reality is we can't always fix everything,
that's right.
and they have to navigate, and we can be there for them. We can totally be there for them, but they have to navigate and figure things out on their own too and stuff. And I'll tell you, Billy, when they do, man, oh man, that is like so inspiring.
It
And
is.
so, how has this relationship with your daughter impacted the work that you get to do? Especially, you've kind of switched gears over the last 5 years or so, and gone out on your own and stuff. How has just your daughter impacted that work that you get to do?
I mean, you used a good word, purpose.
Yeah.
I think we all want to be happy, but we all also want to have purpose. And it really just uh, totally changed my focus completely. As a businessman, we tend to go out there and we learn in business school. It's really all about achieving the next level. And we tend to look past others and not respect and value everyone. And so this really kind of really put my priorities in order, really
Mhm.
allowed me to know what the right purpose should be, and then, and hopefully go out there and help other people realize that, and I'm sure you've heard the stories that, when you're on your deathbed, you're never going to say, oh, I remember that meeting back then, or I
Yeah.
remember that profit and loss statement back there. No, you're going to remember the human connections and
Right.
relationships. So
Amen.
that's how it
Amen.
really drastically changed and affected me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Chuck, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. For anybody that's listening to this right now and going, Kev, man, I really like Chuck. I love how Chuck shows up, and I'm curious to know more about the work that he does because maybe they're thinking, you know what, we could use a little bit more happiness in our business, or maybe we want to have our experience, our customers, our clients experience more happiness. I want to have my employees, my team experience more happiness. For anybody who's thinking about any of those things, any resources, any websites we can share with folks?
Well, I mean, first of all, you could definitely read the book. That to
Yeah.
me, that's foundational because it teaches you how to engage with other people's personality types, how to respect your own, and then it's very practical. Hopefully, a little bit of funny, in there. So that's one side. So you could just look up Rave, How to Respect and Value Everyone on
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay. Perfect.
But you see behind me is my company name, Salvo Innovative Solutions and .com. You can find us there or via my LinkedIn. Just search me on LinkedIn, and I have a lot
Okay.
of insights and articles and ideas on there. Also, I'd love for everyone to connect and for us to get to know each other.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, any last thing you feel led to share, Chuck, before we call it a wrap?
No, Kevin, it's been wonderful that, again, it was to talk to you the first time to see the connection we have. Some people always ask me, what is the, uh, you know, method behind my madness? And, do I just give away books or do I want speaking engagements? And I said, I really just want to save the world one relationship at a time, like
Yeah.
we talked about before. And, if we could just focus in on that, first chapter of my book is just treat others the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. And
Yeah.
you really
Yeah.
just end there. So that's really what I want people to know. Just stop a moment, breathe, put things into perspective, and just treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. I mean that'll take you a long ways right there.
Right there.
And so
All the
yeah.
answers to the mysterious universe is right there in that one statement.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Chuck, once again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of folks. So thanks so much, Chuck.
Thank you.